Former Prime Minister Sali Berisha will be one of the witnesses in the court session against Shullazi. Former Minister Tahiri testified today. The Democratic Party has declared readiness to collaborate with the Socialist Movement for Integration and citizens in an alliance against the government. The Minister of Finance clarified that small businesses will be paying value-added tax but will not mean an increase in prices. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 10th of October 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, bringing you the day's national top stories, translated into English 6 days a week. Former Prime Minister Sali Berisha will be one of the witnesses who will testify in the court session of Shullazi and the 4 other gang members who stand accused of several crimes, such as the threat made against the former director and current director of the Tirana University. The request for Berisha's testimony was made by Shullazi and was approved by the judges. The former Minister of Interior also gave his testimony at the court. Mr. Tahiri declared that he learned about the threat through a public denouncement made by the former Prime Minister Sali Berisha. I appreciated the denouncement and I called all those who had information about this issue. I also engaged the police to investigate this case, but the prosecution didn't pursue this procedure, said Tahiri. He added that the prosecution didn't call Mr. Berisha to testify and stated the sources from where he learned the information. The former Minister of Interior also declared that neither the former director nor the current one could identify the people that made the threats to them. The General State Police Director also gave his testimony in today's court session. Unlike the former Minister of Interior Tahiri, the General State Police Director said that the Minister of Education informed him about the threat. I have met with the Minister of Education and with the former director, said the State Police Director. He added that the former director had identified Shullazi as one of the persons who threatened him. The State Police Director had informed the Minister of Interior and had guided the Tirana Police Director and the Director of Serious Crimes to deal with the case. When asked about the way the former director was threatened, the State Police Director said that according to the former director, some people had stopped him in a vehicle. The people told him not to support the current director's candidature, otherwise he would have problems. Some professors also gave their testimonies, and one of them declared that the former director called him on the day the threat was made and told him about it, but without mentioning the person's name. The former director also appeared at the court session to give his testimony, but he left due to family reasons. The former director will be giving his testimony in the next court session, together with the Minister of Education and Tirana's police director. The next court session will be held on Tuesday. The Democratic Party today expressed their will to collaborate in opposition with the Socialist Movement for Integration. Vice Chairman Edi Paloka said that it is necessary to form an alliance not only with the SMI but with every citizen against this government. According to Paloka, the current government is the epitome of evil for the country. Edi Paloka says that the Democratic Party is open to form an alliance with the Socialist Movement for Integration and every citizen of this country in order to remove this government, which he states is the worst one in history. We are open for collaboration not only with the SMI but with every citizen who is ready to be part of a large front against a government which may be the worst government that Albania has ever seen, declared Mr. Paloka. The Vice Chairman of the DP said that during the process of the electoral reform, the changing of the territorial map will also be required. The territorial reform has been realised for political reasons and it did not give the results which the Prime Minister had promised. On the contrary, the territorial reform had only negative effects. The territorial reform is necessary not only because it is an electoral map, but also because the citizens can't access any of the services they once could access from the local jurisdiction, said the Vice Chairman of the DP, Edi Paloka. While talking about the analysis process for the June 25 parliamentary elections, Paloka said that this has now begun and aims at finding out the causes for the loss. According to Mr. Paloka, there have been several problems, such as vote buying and also a non-functioning structure. Following the call by Prime Minister Edi Rama for the directors of the mortgage offices to resign, the vacant positions will now be filled through a formal application process. The opening of the applications for the new directors of the mortgage offices was announced by the Ministry of Justice. The Minister of Justice, Etilda Jonai, said in her declaration for the media that the application process aims to give the citizens an honest and dignifying service. The Minister of Justice called for every interested party to apply via this open and transparent process. The Minister of Justice publicly declared the opening of the application process for 26 vacant positions as Director of the Mortgage Offices in the cities of Berat, Dibër, Durrës, Elbasan, Gjirokastër, Kavaja, Kruja, Veliaj, Shqiptar, Tiranë, Shkodër, Vlorë, Bulqiz, Devol, Fier, Kolon, Kurbin, Koçov, Malakastër, Mat, Mirdit, Përmet, and Pogradec. The same manner of selection for the directors will also be applied for the recruitment of the directors of prisons and later will expand across all staff, warned the Minister of Justice, Atilda Jonaj. The Minister asked for all the citizens to apply should they fulfil the required criteria. We invite and motivate all citizens who fulfil this legal criteria required to work in these positions to send their applications via the postal and electronic addresses to become part of the reform which has just begun. Jonaj adds that the new application process is the beginning of the reforms that were promised during the first 100 days. Two inspectors from the National Food Authority in Korça were arrested today, charged with dereliction of duty. A citizen crossing the border from Macedonia to Albania with a significant amount of industrial grapes was assisted by the inspectors who compiled a report incorrectly declaring the grapes as goods without excise. The inspectors acted in such a way to ensure the citizen was able to avoid customs duties, and it is because of this that they were apprehended. Verifications resulted that documents for half of the 4,600 kilograms of grapes were falsified and that the product's quality was also changed. The police statement says that, following this case, the two inspectors involved, who were operating at Çaftan Custom Point, are suspected of abusing their positions. The Minister of Finance and Economy, Arben Ahmetay, gave a press conference declaring that the inclusion of small businesses in value-added tax will not have any effect on prices and that fines will only be imposed on informal businesses. The head of finances said that property tax will now be evaluated based on net worth. Regarding the relationship with FMN, he said that it will remain a monitor. Citizens will not be affected by the inclusion of small businesses in value-added tax. The Minister of Finance declared that the main objective of this undertaking is the formalisation of the economy, not to increase prices for consumers. Regarding property tax, Ahmetay confirmed that the evaluation of the tax will be based on the property's net worth. Albania will now have a monitoring relationship with the International Monetary Fund, said Minister Ahmetay. This year's economic growth of Albania is now predicted to reach 3.9%, contrary to the initial prediction, which was 3.7%. Tirana's mayor today participated in an activity in the meeting room of the City Council where 400 young people joined the initiative to recognise the work of the municipality of Tirana in one day. The One Day in the Municipality of Tirana initiative was organised for the second consecutive year, where young people are invited to spend a day in the municipality of Tirana and see what a mayor does on a regular business day. Tirana's mayor, Veliaj, declared that the idea of the youth to transform the pyramid into a multifunctional centre, mainly for the youth service, has been approved by the City Hall. We have come up with this idea to reconstruct the pyramid, so let's do it with a theatre, movies, libraries and digital courses that someone can follow without being a professional on the topic. This is the initiative we received this year, and we will provide the needed budget to transform the pyramid, declared the mayor, who mentioned some of the ideas given by volunteers. One of the ideas which a student gave last year were the orientation points. Students who come to Tirana to study need help with orientation. By next week, we will be in every faculty in order to help students who come to study in Tirana. Adapting to life in Tirana can cause anxiety and can take several weeks. Can we make this process shorter and easier? Can we make integration easier? Absolutely. And for this reason, we will have an orientation week for all students who come to study in Tirana, added Mr. Veliaj. He also announced the realisation of another idea that was given last year to put volunteers near the schools in the morning to help with traffic. As you may have noticed, in many of the school intersections there are volunteers. This was an idea given by young people last year, and they are implementing it to provide more security, especially in the early hours of the morning when the traffic is particularly heavy, said the mayor. That's all for our English edition this evening. My name is Alexandra. Please join me again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. On behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.